Hello, everyone. How are you doing this evening? I'm so glad to be here today. I hope everyone's Christmas was wonderful. Mine was wonderful. The holiday season, it's a lot of things we go through. We're trying to, you know, go through our Christmas lists and go shopping and do all these different things and try to stay into the spirit of Christmas and try to have some of the joy of Christmas. And we see all the lights and all the decorations, the colors, that it makes you feel good. But sometimes when people go through, it doesn't make them feel good. So today we're going to talk about holiday grief. So thank you for joining me for my 2 cents. I appreciate you coming in and joining us tonight. And tonight we're not going to have something that is not it's about grief, but it's something that uplifts you. We had a last show, and it was about how the grief stole Christmas. And we want to talk about that. So I'm so glad to see all of you here today. And hopefully you have seen the show prior to this. And if not, it's okay. You can go back to it after this call, but you can get some information and things that we've talked about that may help you get through if you're going through holiday grief, because sometimes it takes a long time. It's not just 1 year. Sometimes it takes a while. So we just want to say hello this evening to everyone, and thank you for joining. And again, I'm not here alone. I am here today with Miss Evelyn Wilson.
Hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good. How are
She's the
you?
founder of No Ceiling Network. We're so glad to have her today and holiday. How are you? How was your holiday?
My holiday was great. It was restful. It was different
Oh,
this year. I
okay.
wasn't
Okay.
with my family in Houston, but I got to spend it with my kids. So
Oh,
it was
okay.
great. It was
Oh,
great. Thanks for asking.
that's always good to see the children enjoy the holiday. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, mine was good too. It was um, still different, a little different, but it was good. It was good. Yeah, yeah,
I love it. I love it. Well,
yeah,
y'all know how we like to do it here. Hey, everybody. If you're on,
yeah.
go ahead and say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. It's always a good time at my 2 cents. So I can't wait to hop into this conversation. But before we hop in, make sure y'all go ahead and share this with somebody who needs it. And you might not know who needs it. Just go ahead and
Mm,
share it on your page, okay? And go ahead and like and make sure when you hop in, comment. If you're watching us live, give us a hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, you can still talk with us. It's okay if you didn't catch it live, all right? We'll still go back and answer questions and comments. I'm super excited about this particular episode because the guest, she actually commented on some of your things on your page. I don't know if you saw that.
oh,
Yeah, so she's pretty active on here. So I'm excited to see what her community has to say about this episode.
okay, okay,
Yes.
awesome, awesome. Yes, it was uh, Reverend actually Tisha Dixon Williams, and
Yes.
she was speaking about grief because she lost her dad in 2023.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he loved Christmas holiday, so that was a big, big void during the holiday time for her. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that makes them that I think a lot of people are experiencing that for
Mm,
sure. Whether it's a grief from a loved one, grief from, loss of a marriage, or grief from a lot of different things. The
yeah.
holiday can be a lot different when you have a loss. But before we continue with that conversation, Francine, wait, somebody said hi everybody. I don't know who
Hi,
this is. It said Applebee's.
Applebee's. Hi, Applebee's. That's okay. Welcome here. You're welcome here.
Oh, but this is something pretty awesome. They're from YouTube. That's something a little
Okay,
different.
okay,
I love it. Because normally the comments we see are from Facebook, but this is a comment from
okay.
YouTube. So thanks for watching. Um,
Oh,
before we continue to hop into our conversation, Francine, I'm going to put you on the spot and tell us a little bit more about Autumn is Here and why everybody should listen. So, I
okay.
always tell you there may be somebody here who hasn't seen us last time.
Yeah.
So go ahead and share with the audience why you started Autumn is Here and why they should listen.
Well, as you know, I am the podcast host of Autumn is Here. It is a podcast that tries to get people more involved with their aging parents and their aging relatives and just the aging community. It is for support for caregivers, and it's something that I decided to do after I've gone through it. My mom had Alzheimer's, and I was taking care of her, and I didn't know anything until afterwards. So it's something to give information, to show support for caregivers, to let people know they're not alone. Sometimes caregivers go through things, and people wouldn't believe it because they haven't experienced it, so they wouldn't believe it. And another caregiver, if they hear the story, they'll be like, "Yeah, that's what happened with me and my dad. That's what happened with me and my uncle." I thought I was crazy too. There's certain things that happen, and it's a lot. It's a lot of stress on caregivers. So I just wanted to give them some support, some information, let them know there's help out there, let them know there's other people that are going through, and just not have to go through what I went through. I went through it, without the help that I could have had if I only knew. So I don't want anybody else to go through that. It is very difficult any way you do it. Even if you have information, it's still a difficult task to do. But when you have no information, you may make decisions that you don't you could have made better. So that's one of the things why I want to support caregivers, and just let people know that you're not alone. You're not alone. So that's what Autumn is Here is about. This is my 2 cents, and my 2 cents is, we do a show, and I try to talk some more about the show and get more involved in it, because the show I usually interview other people, but I don't really give my insight, and I want to bring some points home. They say they have such good knowledge in these interviews, and they give so much information, and I don't want people to miss the points of it. I want people to get the points of it. So that's what my 2 cents is, and just to give you some more, expand on what was already said. So
Love that. Love that. So, y'all, if you're already a faithful listener to Autumn is Here, let us know in the comments what has been your favorite episode so far. Let us know. And if you haven't listened yet, make sure you tune in. The episodes go live Sundays at 3 p.m. And they're live everywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also watch on YouTube. So,
yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's hop into the conversation. We have a few people that hopped on the live. So make sure you join the conversation, guys. Let us know where you're watching from. Raven said hello. Hey, Raven, how
Hi.
are you?
Hi.
Uh, join the conversation, everybody. Let us know where you're watching from. And let us know how your holidays were. Let us know. Uh, Demetrius said, I'm waiting for the DVD. Oh,
Oh,
somebody
hi,
wants
Demetrius.
somebody wants you to put out a
You
DVD,
did.
Francine.
Okay, I'll add that to the list.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Franklin said, hello. Hello, Franklin.
Hello.
Thanks for
Hello.
watching.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, hey, I love this. Okay, so this episode was pretty great with the Reverend. Francine, what was one of the major things that stood out to you in y'all's conversation?
Oh, it was so many. It was overall, it was the different take on grief. We always think it's so negative, and she was like, it reflects the love that you have for somebody. So if you
Mm-hmm.
love hard, you're gonna grieve hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that she said, that was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's true, because you love that person so much, you miss that person so much, so you're going through grief, maybe a little longer, maybe a little harder. you
Mm-hmm.
know um Another things that she said is that we can dance with grief. you know
Mm.
you don't have to put it aside. You have to dance with it, embrace it,
Yeah,
and dance with grief.
that's a
um
good point.
yeah, it's a very good point. So, it's all in how you look at things, and grief shows up in so many different ways. It's not just the loss of a person. It could be, the loss of a job, the loss of different things that you loved. It's
Yeah.
about love. See, grief and love is connected. So it's
Woo.
about love. So that's what, when you're grieving, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
dance with it, because it's not a bad thing. It means that there's something that you love that is not there anymore, and you're missing it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a great perspective.
yeah,
It's from my understanding of it. It's a little difficult to see grief as a good thing when you're going through it though,
yeah,
because it feels tough. It feels
yeah,
really tough. Did
yeah,
she have any suggestions on how to embrace grief?
yeah. Well, you have to identify it. That's one of the things. That's one of the things we don't identify it. We may be going through it and not even know it because we don't identify it. And one of the first things is to identify when these things change, when your life changes, and when something happens and you feeling this feeling, you can't, why am I feeling like this? Everything seems good. Because some people do, you
Mm-hmm.
just go on with your life and
Yeah.
everything seems good. But we don't identify that as grief. You feel like you're missing something. And that's
Mm-hmm.
because you separated from something you love and you're grieving it. You know what,
Ooh.
it could be just a best friend, it could be, it doesn't have to be your parent, or loss of someone died. It could be, dealing with the different things. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Raven said grief comes in different ways, and that is
Yeah.
so true. Demetri said he's still dealing with grief.
Yeah.
And
Takes a
yeah.
long time. Sometimes it takes a long time. You love that person, you miss that person so much. It takes a long time. But know that that person didn't want you to stand still. That person doesn't want you to die right along with them. Being
Mm-hmm.
honest,
Mm-hmm.
they want you
Mm-hmm.
to go on. They've given you something, because if you love them, it's probably because they've given you some love. They've given you something. So use that to go on. Use that to go forward in your life and be happy in your life. So it's going to take some time, and um, it's no time limit on it. It's no time limit
Yeah.
on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But go
It,
ahead and grieve. Give yourself permission to grieve.
mm-hmm. And when Raven said grief comes in different ways, it can also look different. And I don't know if this is a thing, but is grief something that could possibly always be with you, just in different ways, or you learn to deal with it in different ways?
I think so, because sometimes you think you're over it, or you're not even over it, or that part, that sad part, that
Mm-hmm.
part where you keep crying, you keep crying, you keep crying, and then eventually that goes away or whatever, and you feel like it's past, you're okay, it's whatever, and then 2 years later, a song will come on that reminds you of the person.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go to your favorite restaurant that you went with that person, and the sadness may come back. The
Mm,
sadness may come back.
yeah.
So it takes time, and then it can come back out in spurts. You might think you're good, and then something will happen. You'll see an object of the person that you liked, or a present that you gave them, or something, and that
Mm-hmm.
brings it back. So it's something that takes time. It's over time, and but what we're trying to say, it's not all bad. It's all about love. It's the love that you have from the person. you know
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Raven said there's 5 stages of grief. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've
Five
heard about
stages.
that.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of them you mentioned, like, just acknowledging it, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
then, I think some people, of course, go through this, like, even a denial phase where they're not acknowledging it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
then the reason I listen, okay, let's be real on the stage. The reason why I know about this is because I went through a divorce, and you can grieve a marriage,
Ah.
and
Okay.
so I know there's, like, acknowledging it, coming to terms with it. Sometimes you go through anger. Sometimes you go through, like, why did this happen? Why did my person have to be removed from me? Even
Uh-huh.
when people leave in death. And then I think you get to a point of acceptance, and so there's the different stages. So yeah, you're right, Raven. Denial. Oops, she said, she put it out there for us.
Denial,
Denial, anger,
anger,
bargaining. I missed that one.
bargaining.
Depression, and then acceptance. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. But see, if you go through all of those things, it seems very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very
Mm-hmm.
heavy. But that's part of it. But just know that you're doing it in love. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And just like with healing or anything, we always go through cycles, and I don't and this is just my personal opinion. I just don't think it's ever over. It's just we learn to deal with it in different ways.
yeah.
Cuz if somebody was a huge part of your life, I don't think you'll ever, not miss them,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
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 So I think this particular episode was so cool because the Reverend wrote a book about her grief,
Yeah.
and it had a catchy title to it, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was how the grief stole Christmas, and
Yeah.
it's a cute book, and it's something that helped her to get through what she was going through, And so hopefully it'll help others. But and that's another thing. Sometimes you have to express it in some ways, whether you talk about it or whether you write about it. You express it, express what you're going through, express you know the challenges, what's different, what's hurt, when does it hurt. Some people, it may hurt at a certain time. It may hurt every time I get ready to go to bed, go to sleep. My husband's
Yeah.
not there anymore. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
you go through different things, and um, share with other people. You know,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Raven said, "Where can you we find her book?"
it's online under. I don't. I think you would have to go to her Instagram, which is Who's That Lady Instagram,
Okay.
and or you can find Tisha Dixon Williams on Facebook, and they have a link there.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Hey,
let's chime in with some of our listeners here. Listen, Francine, I just
yeah.
love let me just give you your flowers. I love your consistency with your podcast. And even now, we're being consistent with my 2 cents, and it's paying off. It's
Okay,
paying off
thank you.
because we got some people here on YouTube and Facebook saying hello. Thank you. Hey, Vanessa on YouTube. Hey, Sonia on Facebook.
Hey,
Let us know
Sonia.
where
Hey,
you're watching
Vanessa.
from, everybody. Hey, Tabitha on
Hey,
YouTube. I
Tab. How
love
you
it.
doing? Yes.
Guys, go ahead and chime in with the conversation. We want to hear from you. Let us know where you're listening from. If you have your own story of grief, share in the comments. We're actually building a community here of support. With Autumn is here, so definitely share in the comments if you have any thing you'd like to say about grief. Hey, Stacy on
Hey.
Facebook. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, different people need different things in life in general, right? Like in general, some people are more serious, some people are more fun loving.
Right, right.
Does that play a role in how we grieve?
You know, I don't know. I don't know, but I don't think that would play a role in that way because it's what the person meant to you.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily just your personality.
Hmm.
It's like a person that's is not friendly, not social. It doesn't mean that they're going to grieve harder than someone else. you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
because their personality. Um, it depends on their relationship with the person. People grieve their pets.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's people grieve their pets. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's it's something about the connection that you have with that. You
Hmm.
grieve, you move to a new city, you grieve your old city. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So
Absolutely.
it's the connection that you have, it's the love that you have. One of the things that she said, which I love, is that you don't have to lose it all. When somebody
Mm.
goes, when you're grieving something or somebody, you don't have to throw everything out the window with that. You don't have to lose it all. You
Hmm.
lost that person, but that doesn't mean that everything goes downhill. you know
Ooh, that's good.
yeah,
That's
so
good. I
remember that.
mean, when I hop on here, I always like to make life connections to the things that you say because it's interesting that when we go through certain things, we've learned how to deal with certain things in our lives, but when we're faced with something that we've never been faced with before, sometimes those tools go out the window. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we have to use all of the tools that we've learned over the years to handle certain situations, right? And
Yeah.
when you mentioned that everything doesn't go out the window, that's so true. I think that when people go through any hard time in life, sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart or
Mhm.
everything
Yeah.
is, and that's not true. It's
Yeah.
really that one thing happened, and it's affecting us in a certain way, but we
Mhm.
can't look at it from a lens saying that everything is falling apart. So
Right,
I
right.
love that you pointed that out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, one of the things is, like she has said, her parent had dementia, and it's hard seeing somebody who wasn't the way they normally are, you know,
Hmm.
and just to remember that it's hard for you. Like she said she surprised herself because she didn't have as much patience as she thought she was. She thought she was a perfect patient person. And even
Hmm.
dealing with that and dealing with her parent slowing down and different things. She didn't have all the patience that she thought she would, and it's hard to see your person deteriorate. But
Yeah.
remember that
Yeah.
even though it's hard for you, it's harder for them. It's harder
Mm.
for them. They can't do the things that they used to do. They may not be able to walk. They may not be able to be on their own, or wash themselves or go to the bathroom, whatever it is. So when you
Hmm.
get frustrated and when you get overwhelmed, remember that it's harder for them.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a sacrifice for you, and it
Right.
affects everybody. But sometimes you get a little frustrated because you have to deal with them differently,
Hmm.
and it puts you in a place where you're not as patient. um, and that's one of the things
Mm.
she said, that if I asked her what would you tell somebody who's going through it, and she said, be patient. She
Mm.
said, it's just the patience. And that's hard. That's hard. You
Yeah.
assume that you are, but when
Hmm.
you get in the situation and
Are
you're
you
caring
really?
for somebody, are you really that patient? Yes.
Yeah, that reminds me of what we talked about last week when it comes to a level of selflessness and how you can't really, as a caregiver, there's a level of selflessness to it.
uh,
You can't always be concerned. And I'm not saying you should not be concerned with your well-being and how you feel and all of that, but you can't always be centered around that. And I remember that
yeah,
from our conversation last time. But I
yeah.
wanted to tell everybody who's hopping on, let us know that you're there. I know sometimes when you're listening to a good conversation, you just want to sit there and listen. But we need for y'all to interact, okay? So go ahead and press the like button, press the love, show us some love. Share this on your page, share it with somebody who needs it. Send a text message to somebody with the link and just share it. And also give us a comment in the comment section. There we go. Hey, Keisha,
Uh,
okay? Let us know that you're there. We
yeah.
appreciate that.
We're
Yes.
talking. We're and one of the reasons why I wanted to have this show at this time, because holiday time is a time that people do get sad. People remember their
Absolutely.
losses that they had this year, that in prior years, and
Yes.
spending the holiday without your loved one is difficult. You
Yeah.
know, and it can be however long, but during the
Hmm.
holiday time, and some people have lost some people
Yeah.
during this holiday time, so it's very difficult for them. So we
Yeah.
just want to give you some things to kind of encourage you, let you know that, like, the grief is a reflection of the love that you have for
Hmm.
them, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a natural thing. Look at things a little bit differently. Keep going, keep moving. Take your time with it, because it doesn't, it's not a time limit. It doesn't just go away like that. Forgive yourself. Allow yourself to forgive yourself, and continue to go on with life. It's okay. That person would
Hmm.
want you to go on in life. One of the things that Reverend Tish said is that dance with it, dance with grief.
Yeah.
Don't just ignore it, and identify it. Sometimes when you can't figure out what's this feeling, what's this different thing that you're doing, why you're this way, or you're not feeling yourself.
Yeah.
Identify that could be grief.
Yeah, that's really hitting home with me. I
Yeah.
think these conversations are super important because we want people to know that they're not alone. Thanks to everybody that's hopping on. We have our highest numbers we've had. Is it the
Okay.
holiday? Is it the subject? I don't know what it is. But thanks y'all for
I'm
hopping
grateful.
on. But yeah, these conversations are important to have because people need to know they're not alone.
Mhm.
And the things that you're feeling are not something like you said, it's more about the love for the person, as opposed to something being wrong with you. And I think sometimes when we're not feeling ourselves, and I could speak for myself. When I'm not feeling myself, I kind of beat myself up, and I'm like, what's going on? Like,
Mhm.
why can't I snap out of this, or why can't I,
Yeah.
just get back to things as usual.
Mhm.
And I think the more that you don't identify what's really happening with you, that
Mhm.
you're grieving, the longer it will take for you to get out of that thing. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
super important conversation. Hey, Virginia, Vinny Gonzalez Matthews. Hi. She said, awesome conversation. Thank you so much. For joining us. And again, share your stories, guys, in the comment section. We want to hear from you. I love reading your comments and having them add to the conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah, so you're not alone if
Right.
you're feeling grief in this season. you're
Yeah.
definitely not alone.
You're not alone, and share with other people. One of the things about her writing this book, it was to share with other people, to let people know that it is something that everyone you know goes through. And some would say you can't really totally love unless you've gone through some grief,
Mm,
because
mm-hmm.
it works hand in hand.
Yeah.
So the grief is definitely a reflection of the love that you have for the person. And be patient and do not isolate yourself. Do not
Mm.
isolate yourself. Do not take yourself out of away from everybody forever. Do not do that. It's very hard. It's very hard to go through, and to help others to go through.
Thank you for that comment, Virginia. She said, watching my husband grieve isn't easy. Yeah, watching someone else go through grief is difficult too. And that's a good comment,
Yeah.
because sometimes people who are not necessarily either, you know how sometimes you're in a family or something and y'all both lost mama or whoever, or
Mhm.
y'all both lost, but one person deals with it in a different way than the other.
Right. Right.
um that's something I think that needs to be
It's hard.
talked about as well.
Yeah.
Having patience with people and how they grieve.
Right. And the biggest thing is to make room for them to grieve.
Hmm. Hmm.
Make room for them to grieve. Allow them their grief. Understand that they're going through it. It may show up in so many different ways that you may not even realize, like, why are they doing this or why are they doing that. So be patient with them and give them room to grieve. It just takes time, and you know you don't want to rob them of that because they are grieving through their love for their person. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So that's
Wow, thanks for that comment, Virginia. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for hopping on here. Yeah, so we talked about dancing with grief, talked about, basically giving yourself grace and acknowledging that you're grieving and knowing that it may not go away right
Mhm,
away.
mhm.
Were there any other things that she shared with you that really stuck out in the conversation?
Well, one of the things that she shared was that when you're dealing with grief, that um, people know that it's not like, don't beat yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't beat yourself up. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
Everybody, it doesn't look the same. Just make sure that you have some support around you, some people who will help you to get through it because it's really hard. And hopefully you have people that you can share it with. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to share it. Don't be afraid to go through it. Don't be afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, and it's life. It's
Mhm,
life. I
mhm,
think we all go through different things in life, and sometimes if we think, I don't know if we can honestly feel like we're the only one about anything, but in that moment it feels
mhm.
like, is anybody else going through this other than me?
Yes, 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 yes.
Tabitha said it's hard to watch your partner grieve over a parent when you haven't lost either. That's
Mm,
big.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
big.
Yeah, because you don't really know what
Yeah.
they're going through. You don't really know you understand, but you don't know what the feelings they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So outside looking in, it looks
Yeah.
like you should be okay, but they're not okay, and you just have to
Mm-hmm.
give them room to do that. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard on the people around you. It's hard on the family because you love them. So the
Mm-hmm.
same way
Mm-hmm.
their grief is a reflection of their love for their the person that they lost.
Mm-hmm.
You love them, and that makes you sad for them, that they're going through, because that's
Yeah.
connected. Grief and love is connected. So yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier just giving people space,
Mhm.
to grieve the way that they grieve is
Mhm.
important. So yeah, I think that's a good tool to have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
this. I love this conversation. So, the book title
Mhm.
seems to be a little whimsical, but is it necessarily whimsical or is it just a different spin on grief?
No, it is. It's more of a poetic kind of. She did it in a same way of Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's poetic. It's light.
Mm.
It's light. It's not heavy in that way. It's kind of identifying grief, and giving you some tools and some things to just the way to look at it, and just saying different ways that it shows up, so you know. Because some people
Mhm.
can't recognize that was one of the biggest thing. She said we don't identify grief. We go through stuff, and we go through stuff. We fight with stuff, and we
Yeah.
don't identify it as grief.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, one of the things that I was saying for this holiday for me has been different. It has not been the same. I didn't feel particularly sad or anything like that, but I didn't do what I normally do. And I do a big, I think I'm Santa Claus. Okay. And I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And I didn't want to do it. I don't know why. I just didn't know why until when I was thinking about this, what she was saying. And I said, wow, I lost a lot of people this year. I think that's what I'm going through. I think I'm grieving some losses, some friends that are gone on, some people who
Mhm.
were, very supportive of me and encouraging of me are not here.
Yeah.
Support systems are not here. So I think all of that was like I just didn't have that full, joyous. Let's just put everything into Christmas. So I had a
Yeah.
wonderful Christmas with my family, but it wasn't like I normally do it. So
Mhm. Mhm.
you have to allow
And
yourself.
what you just said is really key too, because you said you had a good Christmas, but it wasn't the same,
It
right?
wasn't the same.
And you were talking earlier about how our loved ones would want us to continue, but you don't have to necessarily continue the same way that you
Right,
used to, you
right,
know.
right.
And that reminds me, before I go into that though, Sonia said, how do you deal with grief, health, and support from family? Yeah, you do need a lot of support, from your family members,
Mhm.
for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
um, I recently I follow a friend of mine who lost her dad. I think it may have been last year or a couple of years ago. And no, no, I take that back. My goodness, there's loss. Oh my goodness, there's loss everywhere. It's
Uh-huh,
another young lady that I follow. She lost her mom
uh-huh,
last year, and she was sharing how, as the oldest daughter, she felt like she may need to step into her mom's shoes and do all the things that her mom used to do, right?
mhm,
And she came to the realization, though, that that wasn't her path. She
mhm,
couldn't fill her mom's shoes.
mhm,
Um, and I thought that was so profound that she realized that, because sometimes people will feel pressure to
mhm.
fill their loved one's shoes, especially if they're, the
Yeah,
elder daughter and stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, have you had any experience with that, or what are your thoughts surrounding, how you move on?
Well, I just think that you have to do what's best for you,
Hmm.
and just like one of the things that Reverend Tish said, her father was big on Christmas. Like he was a very quiet man, but Christmas was his thing every year. He made a big deal of it. Since they were little, so with him not being there, it was such a void because Christmas is never going to be the same.
Hmm.
It's just not because he's missing it. And that's one of the things with her writing this book. She just wanted to express it because how is she going to deal with this big thing that happens in her life forever is gone now, and you don't have to do it the same. You don't have to do it the same. The person is not there. It doesn't mean that you don't have to celebrate, but you don't have to do it the same. And sometimes that's difficult because that person is missing.
Hmm. Hmm.
But talk about it. Talk about them. Talk about stories. Reminisce. Share that with other people that you love. Talk about the good things about the person with other people who have the same connection. That
Yeah,
helps. That helps so much.
love
Um,
that.
yeah, don't let them just die, that their memory just die off.
Absolutely.
Keep the memory alive. That's a way to help you to get through.
I love that. I love that. Well, as always, we have so much fun with these conversations. Francine, I would love for you to just leave the audience with your, final thoughts about this episode, or even its connection with other episodes. And I'm just going to give you the floor to do that.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming on tonight. I really appreciate that. Um, Today, I just really want people to know that sometimes we have traditions of how we do things, and we look at things in kind of a narrow way and just broaden it. And I think that's what Reverend Tish was saying on this, kind of like it's grief is just it just seems it's such a negative word, it's like grief, but let's look at it a little bit different. Let's broaden it. Grief is a reflection of love. Let's broaden the way we look at it, why we're doing it, the connections, the good things, that the person has taught us. Just look at the good side and allow yourself to grieve instead of fighting it. Allow yourself to grieve and go through. It's okay. And that's one of the things that I just really, really like about this. Look at things in a different way. We're so used to tradition. We're so used to what the definition of someone else says. Make your own this definition. Let yourself know that it's okay, and be okay with grieving.
I love that. Make your own definition of what grief looks like in your life. We had another comment. Stacy said, "I spent Christmas alone because I didn't feel like traveling. I got through it without sadness, even though I'm still grieving the loss of my mother a year and a half ago." Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
mm. Yeah, but she got through it without sadness,
yeah,
so I would assume prior to this or the year before it was sadness, but she got through. But
yeah.
now it's without sadness, so it's getting better. She's coping with grief. She's coping with the love. It's connecting with the love that she has. You know what I mean? Keeping the memory alive, doing that. So that's great. You don't just dismiss the holiday. You
Hmm.
celebrate the holiday with the joy and the love of your parents. So that's good. Thank you for that comment.
I love that. I love that. Well, we have some announcements to make. Uh, Back in the day, I used to do this live broadcast before, and I would say church announcements.
Uh,
But in
uh,
a way, this is a little church announcement. Let me put the flyer on the screen. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. Please come out. As a matter of fact, it's going to be this Saturday. Come out to Comedy for Caregivers. We're going to show caregivers some love. We have some great comedians there. We have music by Reverend Wilson. And we're just going to have a lot of people surrounding us with some support. We're talking about support here. So that's what we're talking about for caregivers. People do not recognize that there's so many people who are caring for other people, and it's a tough job. Certain jobs you go, oh, it's hard to be, a doctor or whatever it is, but it's hard to be a caregiver, just as hard. You're caring for someone's life and their well-being while you're trying to live your own. So we want to show them some love and have some fun. So please come out. It's December 28th at Christ Fellowship Baptist Church, right here in Brooklyn on Fulton Street. And we just want you to be out there and share with us. $25 of tickets. It's 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So please get there and enjoy with us.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. I love it. I have a little announcement of my own here. Listen, if you haven't been there yet, go to autumnishere.com. You can check out Francine's website. You can buy your tickets there. You can also click one of the links there to listen to the podcast episodes. So if you haven't gone already, go to www.autumnishere.com.
Thank
And
you.
all right, as usual, this was fun, Francine.
Thank you all. Thank you. This was great. And I wanted to end this year with this, give you some hope for the holidays, and maybe it'll get easier and easier. So thank you all. We'll be back probably in the mid-January. So just enjoy your holidays and Happy New Year to everyone. Thank
Happy
you for
New
your
Year.
support.
Happy holidays.
Look at
All right,
Autumn
y'all.
is here. That's my 2 cents. And don't say I didn't tell you. Okay. Don't say I didn't tell you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Good night.